you have your own long history and culture. How did you develop it? With the help of Americans? It's utterly unnecessary and absurd.
So we should go back to our roots, just like Dr. Sonik said again with the he had with the new European right angle, I think there that people like from Denmark should go back to their roots and forget about the Jewish influence through Americanism, something like that.
Right. You have to stick to your traditions, which are not American, because America has no tradition. It has only kind of popular culture, a proletarian culture, and it's exporting it vigorously through the media and so on and so forth. And you cannot allow future generations of Europeans to be subject to this indoctrination.
Right. And you have written something about it's a book called Nobilita. I don't know if I get the title. Nobilita. Nobilitas, a study of European aristocratic philosophy from ancient Greece to the early 20th century. So, like other our speakers, you're also very interested in the Greek philosophy, particularly the aristocratic part of that. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, all of European culture is aristocratic. All of culture is aristocratic. It does not derive from the people. The whole of the modern world, post-Marxist, post-communist, post-capitalist world, is proletarian. It is Marxist and believes that people can somehow gain independence and intellectual development and culture by themselves. This is completely wrong. It needs to be guided by an elite, and this elite must be the elite of their own land, connected to the land. So that is the aristocracy, because they're always based, on estates in their country and have intimate contact with the land. That is how culture is developed, and they are always guided by the spiritual organization of the land, which is, in the case of Europe, the church. And these two always go together, church and state. The divorce of church and state in modern democracy is an abomination.
I see. Which is not exactly what the media say. They want them to be split totally. The sooner the better. In Denmark as well as in Sweden. What has happened actually in Sweden? It's been done. Right. Anyway, this brings me to the question of the Aryan philosophy, right, which also other members have discussed. The Aryan philosophy. Well, that's you should be an expert on that. You come from the areas where Aryan philosophy is supposed to have originated.
Right. Of course, people who are interested in National Socialism are interested in Aryanism, because the National Socialists use the Aryan mythology to their own ends. They call themselves Aryans. Of course, they are Aryans. The Western Indo-Europeans are not called Aryans originally. They're called Celts and Germans and so on. But the Indo-Iranians call themselves Aryans. And so we have the Aryan philosophy in India still, in Brahmanism particularly, and Buddhism also. And this is the most ancient religion, philosophy of Indo-European people. It's, I don't know, at least 10,000 years old or something. And it is a tradition that we have preserved through the ages. It is also completely aristocratic, because it is developed and directed by the Brahmanical and the ruling class, that is the Kshatriyas. And all of our culture derives from these upper castes. And it is a completely spiritual culture, because the Brahmins are at the top of the hierarchy. And so they always inspire and guide the rulers and the development of their politics and so on and so forth. So that is the Aryan philosophy. It means constant cooperation between the spiritual leaders and the political, and guidance of the land towards their higher development, always considering their spiritual welfare as well as their material. In fact, their spiritual welfare more than their material.
So that's a system which you would suggest probably for Europe as well, that we should have some spiritual guidance, religious guidance even. Would that be from Odin and Thor, or would that be Christian guidance, or what would you suggest then?
Now you face a problem because Christianity has been so weakened after Marxism that nobody wants to go to church anymore, and so become almost ridiculous. But in fact, when you look at the history of Europe, you will find that all of its development, political and cultural, has been due to Christianity, and all of your nations were Christian nations. And today you cannot think of Europe as a Christian entity at all, because the Jews have made it a laughable matter. In fact, the whole of Europe, East and West, are just the two parts of the Roman Empire. The western part is the Holy Roman Empire, and the eastern is the Byzantine. And there is already a source of a reunification through the ancient institutions of the Roman Empire, the Christian Roman Empire, which was divided into East and West. So it is a natural kind of union. And so Christianity is a unifying force and should be again. Of course, all of these nationalists today want to go back to some wartime and pagan gods and so on. This is not possible because you have forgotten the meaning of these gods. I know what wartime signifies because he has counterparts in Indian and Iranian mythology. But you don't. And you're not going to revive a religion when you don't even understand the significance of your God. No. So there is Christianity. Christianity is not a Judaic religion. Originally, it is also Indo-European. It derives from Mesopotamia or something, where the Jews dwelt, and it was certainly developed during the Babylonian exile of the Jews. And there was a lot of influence from that part on the Jewish people who developed this cult, probably Nazarenes or something. And then they brought it to Israel when they were sent back to Israel. And then it was taken over by rabbis or something, Paul, who's a Jew, and made into a Jewish religion set in a historical Jewish context in Palestine. So you don't have to think of it as a Jewish religion. It has all of the solar cosmic aspects of an Indo-European religion, and that is why the birth of Christ is celebrated in winter solstice and his resurrection in spring and so on, exactly as the phases of the sun dictate. Mm-hmm. So yes, that is the only option, Christianity, particularly the older forms, the Roman Catholic and the Eastern Orthodox.
Right, but then you're saying Brahmanism would actually be a preferable system for India.
Yes.
It's very much derided by the Western media and taken as an example of how bad you can treat the lower class.
All right. No, this is not true at all. All of Indian culture is due to the Brahmins because only they had learning. It was their prerogative. And it's just like saying, the Catholic Church has to be denigrated because they reserved all the learning for the monks and so on, and nobody else was allowed to learn anything. In fact, your culture has the same aristocratic system. At first, only the clergy learnt at universities and so on, and then the aristocrats. So that is how all culture begins and develops. It has to be from the top.
From top down, which is the basic principle. Okay, so just as a last question, I think for you is that I see the development of your interests coming from the Aryan sort of ideals in Brahmanism, in India, and in Hinduism, and leading up to where you found the same principles best represented in Germany, out of all other countries. Is that so?
Right, because all idealistic philosophy is based on the elevation of man to God. That is, to think above his material condition and to aspire to something ideal. And only with this can culture develop and progress. With this materialistic philosophy of Marx and the Americans, they're not going to develop at all. They become more and more puerile, like children. As you can see, the whole of American culture is really only for undeveloped children. It is gaudy and it's full of fantasy and it's full of games. It's not serious at all, and it should not be taken seriously either.
Now, it's in a country, in a third world country, is what we call India. It's not very normal. You don't very often see scholars being interested in the survival of the West at all. Not being interested in it, maybe. Do you find it difficult to explain that to, say, scholars from your own country, from India?
Well,
your interest in the European and German particularly.
No, this is a globalized world now. Everybody is connected to everybody else. In fact, India is not independent. It is interested in this spurious technological culture of America. It is involved in it and cooperating with it. So why should I not be interested in something Western also, and something more authentically Western, which is the European?
Do you find it easy to get, say, your family to understand your interests, or is that a little bit far away?
No, my family are not interested in philosophy or politics. They are just professionals, engineers and doctors and so on.
I see. Well, and so you've been a philosopher from very early in your life.
I'm a philosopher naturally, so it's something I do naturally. So.
Okay. Well, at first I thought how obvious it would be to say, like you seem like a Western soul in an Eastern body, but that's not exactly a description of your situation, is it?
What East and West? The Indo-Europeans have one philosophy and one culture. The external forms are different. For instance, Russian church looks very different from Danish. These are forms of architecture that are different. So also an Indian temple looks different from Christian. So these are the external forms. But the aims, the spiritual aims, are all the same, because the Indo-European people are spread from India to Ireland, and not beyond.
Okay. Well, Dr. Jacob, I think this was a very good complementary talk to what you presented to us yesterday, and I think the two things will go well together. The deeper study of what you said yesterday, plus seeing you as a human being with an understandable background for this interesting study. So I thank you very much for joining me here, and I wish you a nice trip back to where we were going to. I hope to see you again here.
Brno in the Czech Republic.
Well, another interesting place. But I hope you'll be back here for some other interesting talks and maybe another event like the one we had.
I hope so too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.